There's a particular kind of fear that comes from a phone ringing after midnight. Every parent knows it. That half second between hearing the ring and answering, where your mind runs through every worst-case scenario at once.
That night, it wasn't Jake who was in danger. It was the truth. My name is Ryan Mitchell.
And this is the story of the night my lawyer called me at 12:47 a.m.
And what I saw on that security footage almost changed everything I thought I understood about the people around my son.
I'd fallen asleep on the couch, some old movie still playing quietly on the TV, when my phone lit up. David's name on the screen. Midnight calls from your lawyer are never good news. David, what's wrong? Ryan, I need you to come to my office first thing tomorrow, before the hearing. Something came in tonight. Security footage from your home system. My paralegal flagged it during routine evidence review for the custody follow-up. My chest tightened immediately. Is Jake in it? Is he okay? He's fine, David said quickly. But Ryan, you need to see this before you walk into that courtroom tomorrow. It changes things. I don't want to say more over the phone. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. David's office at 7 a.m. felt colder than usual, the overhead lights too bright for how little sleep either of us had gotten. He turned his laptop toward me and pressed play. The footage was from my backyard camera, time-stamped 9 days earlier, 11:52 p.m. The image was grainy but clear enough. A figure moving along the side fence, pausing at the trash cans, then approaching the back door. Is that? I leaned closer. Diane Foster, David confirmed. Your former nanny. I watched, stomach twisting, as Diane crouched by the recycling bin, pulled out an old file folder Sarah and I had thrown away weeks earlier, school records, a copy of Jake's counseling intake form, and photographed each page carefully with her phone before placing everything back exactly as she'd found it. She was still watching us, after everything. Here's what doesn't add up, David said, pulling up a second file. After the last hearing, Emily's attorney's office issued a formal notice ending any arrangement with Diane. I confirmed it myself. Emily terminated that agreement in writing, the same week as your custody ruling. So why was Diane still coming around? David hesitated. That's what we need to find out before this morning's hearing. Because if Emily is somehow involved in this again, it undermines everything from her side. But if she's not, we need to know who authorized this, because someone is still building a file on you and Jake without any court oversight. I thought immediately of Emily. The letter, the photo album, the therapy, everything about her these past weeks had felt different, genuine. Had I been wrong to believe it? Call her, I said, right now, before we walk into that courtroom, assuming the worst. Emily answered on the second ring, her voice groggy but alert the moment David explained why we were calling. I had nothing to do with this, she said immediately, her voice sharpening with what sounded like genuine alarm. Ryan, I swear to you, I ended that arrangement the day the judge ruled. I haven't spoken to Diane since. Then who's paying her to still be watching my house? I asked. There was a long pause. There's only one other person who had contact with Diane through my case. Patricia, my old attorney's paralegal, the one who used to bring Diane the envelopes. Why would Patricia keep doing this on her own? David asked. Emily's voice dropped. I fired my old attorney's firm after the last hearing. I switched to someone new, someone who actually pushed back when I mentioned coaching Jake. Patricia lost her role on my case because of that decision. I think this might not be about you and me at all anymore, Ryan. I think this might be about her trying to manufacture a reason to stay relevant, or get back at the firm that let her go by keeping the case alive. We walked into the courtroom 2 hours later with a very different case than the one we'd expected to argue. Instead of defending against new allegations from Emily, David presented the footage as evidence of an unauthorized third party continuing surveillance after a formal termination of services, a serious breach with potential legal consequences of its own. The judge reviewed the footage in silence, then looked toward Emily's new attorney, Ms. Reyes, who looked as blindsided as the rest of us. "Your Honor," Ms. Reyes said, "my office has no knowledge of any continued arrangement with Ms. Foster. We'll be investigating this internally and cooperating fully with any inquiry." The judge's ruling was measured but firm. Custody remained unchanged, with a formal note entered into the record regarding the unauthorized surveillance and a referral for the matter to be investigated separately, outside the custody proceeding itself. For the first time in over a year, I walked out of that courthouse without Emily as my opponent. We walked out instead as two parents who had just been targeted by the same unexpected threat. Over the following week, the investigation confirmed what Emily suspected. Patricia had continued paying Diane out of her own pocket, hoping to find something, anything, that would justify reopening a more dramatic phase of the case, positioning herself as indispensable to keep her old job, or perhaps simply unable to let go of a case that had defined her role for over a year. It was a strange kind of relief, learning that the person still circling our lives wasn't Emily, wasn't even someone with a personal stake in our family, but someone chasing their own agenda entirely separate from Jake. Emily called me that evening, her voice quiet. "I keep thinking about how easy it would have been for you to assume it was me. After everything I did before, you'd have every reason to believe the worst." "I almost did," I admitted, "but I decided to ask the question instead of assuming the answer." "I'm glad I did." That weekend, Jake asked me, in his usual direct way, why there had been so many grown-up meetings lately. I sat with him on the back porch, the same fence Diane had once crouched beside, now just an ordinary fence again. "Sometimes," I told him, "people make mistakes that have nothing to do with you, but they still end up affecting your life. The important thing is that the adults who love you, me, your mom, Sarah, we're all working hard to make sure you're protected, even when it gets complicated." He thought about that for a moment. "Is Mom still trying to be better, like she said at my birthday?" "Yeah, buddy," I said. "She really is. This wasn't about her. This time, she was actually on our side. It's strange, looking back, how a midnight phone call that felt like the start of another battle turned into the moment Emily and I finally started feeling like a team instead of adversaries. I installed a new security system that week, one with better notifications, better peace of mind. But more than that, I installed something else, a little more trust in the idea that not every shadow at the edge of your life is the threat you assume it is. If you've ever braced yourself for betrayal and found an ally instead, if you've ever had to separate the people who hurt you from the people who are actually trying to change, I want you to know it's okay to ask the question before you assume the worst answer. If this story moved you, let me know in the comments. And if you have a story of your own, share it below. It might just become our next episode. This is Silent Love. And this was a story about learning who's really on your side